Your body is not falling apart because of age. It's falling apart because of habits that have been repeated for years without question. Most people spend decades believing that getting older automatically means becoming weaker, slower, more forgetful, and more dependent on medications. They accept aching joints, low energy, poor sleep, weight gain, and declining health as if these things are unavoidable. But that belief has cost millions of people their quality of life. The uncomfortable truth is that many of the health problems blamed on aging are actually connected to daily choices. And one of the biggest choices is made several times a day, every single day, without much thought. Food. What you put into your body today becomes the body you live in tomorrow. That sounds simple, yet most people completely underestimate its power. Every meal is either helping your body stay strong or quietly pushing it toward decline. There is no neutral ground. Your body is constantly responding to what you eat. It is either repairing itself or struggling to keep up with the damage. And here's what makes this especially important after the age of 60. Your body no longer recovers the way it did decades ago. When you were younger, you could get away with poor decisions. You could eat junk food, skip nutritious meals, overload on sugar, and still feel relatively normal the next day. Your body had more resilience. It could absorb the punishment, not anymore. Now every choice matters more. The margin for error becomes smaller. The consequences arrive faster. The foods that seemed harmless years ago can suddenly become major threats to your health. That is why so many seniors are shocked when they develop serious health problems despite feeling like they've been eating the same way their entire lives. Exactly. They've been eating the same way their entire lives. The body changes. The nutritional needs change. But the habits often stay the same. And that creates a dangerous gap between what the body needs and what it receives. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that if a food is common, it must be safe. That assumption has created a health crisis. Some of the most damaging foods on the planet are also among the most heavily consumed. They're in grocery stores. They're in restaurants, they're in advertisements, they're in kitchens all over the world. They're so normal that nobody questions them anymore, and that's exactly why they're dangerous. People tend to fear rare threats while ignoring the everyday dangers sitting directly in front of them. A person might worry about getting sick someday while eating foods every day that slowly increase the risk of disease. A person might spend hours researching health supplements while continuing habits that sabotage their health from the inside out. That doesn't make sense. Yet, it happens constantly. Another harsh reality is that many foods marketed as healthy are anything but healthy. Packaging can be misleading. Advertising can be misleading. Labels can be misleading. Your body, however, cannot be fooled. It responds to ingredients, not marketing. It responds to nutrition, not promises. It responds to what something actually is, not what the package claims it to be. And that's where many people get trapped. They believe they are making smart choices while unknowingly feeding their bodies things that accelerate inflammation, increase blood sugar, damage blood vessels, and contribute to chronic disease. The damage often happens silently. There is no alarm, no warning light, no dramatic signal. Day after day, year after year, the effects accumulate beneath the surface. Then one day, the consequences appear. A diagnosis, a hospitalization, a loss of mobility, a decline in memory, a health scare that seems sudden but was actually developing for years. The shocking truth is that many of these outcomes don't begin with a major event. They begin with small daily decisions repeated thousands of times. That's why this conversation matters, because prevention is never dramatic. Disease is. Most people wait until something goes wrong before they start paying attention. They wait for pain, they wait for symptoms, they wait for a doctor's warning. But by then, the body may already be struggling to recover from years of damage. The smarter approach is to recognize the threat before it becomes a crisis. To understand which foods are helping and which foods are hurting. To stop confusing familiarity with safety. To stop believing that age alone is responsible for every health problem. Because growing older is inevitable. Growing weaker is not always inevitable. There is a difference. Your body is listening to every choice you make. Every breakfast, every lunch, every dinner, every snack, every bite is casting a vote. A vote for strength or weakness. A vote for energy or fatigue. A vote for independence or dependence. And the outcome of those votes becomes visible over time. The good news is that change does not require perfection. It requires awareness. The moment you identify the foods that are working against you, you gain the power to make different choices. Better choices, smarter choices, choices that support the life you want, instead of silently stealing it away. Because the greatest threat to your future health may not be age itself. It may be the foods you've trusted for far too long. Most people assume that the biggest threats to their health are obvious. They imagine danger arriving in dramatic ways: a sudden illness, a medical emergency, a frightening diagnosis. But health rarely disappears overnight. It erodes quietly, slowly, one small decision at a time. And some of the worst damage comes from foods that have become so normal that people stop seeing them as a threat. That's what makes them dangerous. Not because they look unhealthy, not because they come with warning labels, but because they've earned a place in daily life without earning a place in a healthy body. The first food on this list is processed meat: bacon, sausages, hot dogs, deli meats. These foods have become a routine part of breakfast, lunch, and dinner for millions of people. They're convenient, they're flavorful, they're easy to prepare. And that's exactly why they became so popular. But convenience has a cost. Most processed meats contain large amounts of sodium, preservatives, additives, and compounds that place stress on the body over time. Your body doesn't care that something tastes good. Your arteries don't care that it's convenient. Your heart doesn't care that it's a family tradition. It only responds to what enters your bloodstream. Every day, your body is working hard to maintain balance. It regulates blood pressure. It controls inflammation. It protects vital organs. It repairs damaged cells. But when harmful foods become a daily habit, that workload increases. The body is forced to spend more time fighting damage and less time maintaining health. And after the age of 60, that's a battle the body doesn't always win. The harsh reality is that many seniors are eating foods that make their body work harder when it should be working smarter. They consume products designed for shelf life rather than human health, products engineered for convenience rather than longevity, and the consequences often show up years later. Not immediately, not dramatically, just a slow decline that people mistakenly blame on age. But processed meats aren't the only problem. The next hidden health destroyer often appears at the very start of the day: sugary breakfast cereals. This may be one of the most misunderstood foods in modern nutrition. Walk down any grocery aisle and you'll see boxes covered with health claims: whole grains, essential vitamins, heart healthy, source of fiber. The marketing sounds impressive. The reality is often very different. Many breakfast cereals are loaded with added sugars and refined carbohydrates. The body processes them rapidly. Blood sugar rises quickly, insulin surges, energy spikes, then comes the crash. That cycle repeats day after day, year after year, and over time, the effects become harder to ignore. The problem is that many people believe they're starting the day with a healthy meal when they're actually giving their body a sugar rush, disguised as nutrition. That's a dangerous illusion, because when something looks healthy, people stop questioning it. They stop reading labels. They stop paying attention. They trust the packaging more than the ingredients. And that's where trouble begins. One of the most shocking truths about modern food is that some of the products marketed most aggressively as healthy are among the least beneficial for long-term health. The food industry understands human psychology. People want quick solutions, people want convenience, people want reassurance, and many products are designed to provide exactly that, not actual health, just the feeling of making a healthy choice. There's a difference, a huge difference. Your body cannot survive on marketing, it survives on nutrients, real nutrients, and when those nutrients are missing, problems begin to develop beneath the surface. Low energy, weight gain, blood sugar instability, increased inflammation, poor metabolic health. The body sends signals. Most people simply ignore them. Then comes another uncomfortable realization. Many seniors are not overeating because they're hungry. They're overeating because the foods they're consuming never truly satisfy the body's nutritional needs. When a meal lacks quality nutrition, the body continues searching for what it needs. Cravings increase. Hunger returns sooner. Portion sizes grow larger. The cycle continues. People blame themselves for lacking discipline. But often the problem starts with the food itself. The body is asking for nourishment. The food is providing calories. Those are not the same thing, and that's one of the biggest mindset shifts that can transform health. Stop asking whether a food fills your stomach. Start asking whether it serves your body. Because a full stomach does not automatically mean a nourished body. A box of sugary cereal can fill your stomach. A plate of processed meat can fill your stomach. But filling your stomach and protecting your future health are two completely different goals. The body keeps score whether you pay attention or not. Every meal leaves a mark. Every choice creates a consequence. And while these foods may seem harmless because they're common, common does not mean safe. Common simply means many people are making the same mistake. The good news is that once you recognize the mistake, you no longer have to repeat it. Awareness changes everything, because the foods that quietly steal health only have power when they go unquestioned. Aging does not happen all at once. It happens little by little, cell by cell, choice by choice. Most people think aging is controlled entirely by the calendar. They believe every wrinkle, every ache, every loss of energy is simply the price of getting older. But that belief ignores a powerful reality. Some foods don't just accompany aging, they accelerate it. They push the body further and faster toward decline. And many people consume them every week without realizing the damage they're causing. One of the biggest offenders is fried food, French fries, fried chicken, fried snacks, fast food favorites. For many people, these foods are comfort foods. They're familiar, they're satisfying, they're everywhere. But your body sees them differently. When foods are repeatedly fried at high temperatures, harmful compounds can form. These compounds increase oxidative stress and inflammation throughout the body. And inflammation is not a small problem. Inflammation is one of the hidden forces behind many of the diseases people fear most. Heart disease, joint problems, type 2 diabetes, cognitive decline, reduced mobility. The frightening part is that inflammation often works in silence. You don't feel it immediately. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly notice years of damage. Instead, it builds gradually, like rust spreading through a machine. Everything still works for a while. Then performance begins to decline. Movement becomes harder. Recovery becomes slower. Energy becomes lower. The body starts sending signals. Most people call it aging, but often it's the accumulated effect of years of choices. Here's a truth many people don't want to hear. Your body cannot build strength from foods that constantly create damage. It spends too much time defending itself, too much time repairing, too much time fighting fires that never should have started. And after 60, recovery becomes even more important. Every meal should be helping the body heal, not creating more work. The next food category may be even more destructive because it's consumed in liquid form. Sugary drinks, soda, sweetened teas, fruit-flavored beverages, energy drinks. Many people underestimate them because they're not technically food. But the body doesn't make that distinction. Sugar is sugar. And liquid sugar enters the system with remarkable speed. The moment it reaches the bloodstream, the body is forced into action. Insulin rises. Blood sugar spikes. The entire metabolic system goes to work trying to manage the overload. The problem isn't just the amount of sugar, it's how quickly it arrives. Unlike whole foods that contain fiber and nutrients, sugary drinks often deliver large amounts of sugar with very little nutritional value. The body receives a flood of calories, but almost none of the support it actually needs. That's a terrible trait. And it becomes even worse with age. Because the body's ability to regulate blood sugar often becomes less efficient over time. The consequences become more significant. The risks become greater. The margin for error becomes smaller. Here's a shocking realization. Many people would never sit down and eat 10 or 12 teaspoons of sugar straight from a bowl. The idea sounds ridiculous. Yet they consume the same amount through beverages without giving it a second thought. That is the power of normalization. When something becomes common, people stop questioning it, even when it's harming them. And that's one of the biggest traps in modern nutrition. The most dangerous habits are often the ones that feel normal. Then there are highly processed snacks, chips, crackers, packaged treats, foods specifically designed to keep you reaching for another handful. These products are not created to support your health. They're created to maximize consumption. Food scientists spend years studying taste, texture, crunch, sweetness, and saltiness. Why? Because if a product keeps you eating, it keeps generating profit. That's the business model. The goal is not satisfaction. The goal is repetition. And that's exactly what happens. One handful becomes two. Two becomes three. A small snack becomes hundreds of extra calories. Yet the body remains unsatisfied because it wasn't looking for more processed ingredients. It was looking for nutrition, real nutrition. This creates a cycle that traps millions of people. The more processed foods they eat, the more they crave. The more they crave, the more they consume. The more they consume, the worse they feel. Then they look for comfort in the very foods contributing to the problem. It's a cycle designed to continue unless someone consciously breaks it. And that leads to another uncomfortable truth. Many people spend years searching for a miracle solution while ignoring the obvious source of the problem. They search for supplements, they search for medications, they search for shortcuts, but no supplement can fully compensate for a daily diet filled with inflammatory, highly processed foods. Health isn't built by what you occasionally do. It's built by what you repeatedly do. Every meal matters, every snack matters, every drink matters, because your body is constantly responding, constantly adapting, constantly becoming a reflection of the choices you make. The good news is that aging faster is not your destiny. It's often the result of patterns that can be changed. And the moment you begin removing foods that fuel inflammation, blood sugar chaos, and constant cravings, you give your body something it desperately needs. A chance to work with you instead of against you. Because the goal isn't simply to live longer. The goal is to remain strong, capable, alert, and independent for as long as possible. And that journey is influenced far more by what's on your plate than most people realize. As people grow older, one mistake becomes increasingly dangerous. Believing that a food is healthy simply because it is marketed as healthy. The food industry understands something powerful. Most people don't buy products. They buy promises. Promises of weight loss. Promises of better health, promises of guilt-free eating, promises of making smarter choices. And some of the most damaging foods hide behind those promises. That's why the next items on this list deserve serious attention. They don't look dangerous, they often look responsible, but appearances can be deceiving. One of the biggest examples is artificially sweetened diet foods and drinks. For years, millions of people have turned to diet products believing they were making a healthier choice. Diet sodas, sugar-free desserts, low-calorie snacks, artificially sweetened beverages. The logic seems simple. Less sugar must mean better health. But health is rarely that simple. The problem is that many people focus on what has been removed from a product while ignoring what has been added. A product may contain less sugar, but that doesn't automatically make it nutritious. It doesn't automatically make it beneficial. And it certainly doesn't guarantee that it supports long-term health. One of the harsh realities of modern eating is that many people never truly escape their cravings. They simply change the source. The desire for constant sweetness remains, the habit remains, the dependency remains, the cycle remains. Instead of teaching the body to appreciate natural foods, many diet products keep the appetite attached to intensely sweet flavors. That attachment can make healthier choices feel less satisfying, less exciting, less rewarding, and that creates a problem. Because long-term health is not built on temporary tricks. It's built on sustainable habits. Real food, real nutrition, real nourishment, not endless attempts to outsmart the body's natural systems. Many people spend years searching for healthier versions of unhealthy foods instead of learning to enjoy genuinely healthy foods. That's an important distinction, because replacing one processed product with another processed product isn't always progress. Sometimes it's simply a different version of the same mistake. And now comes perhaps the most surprising food on this list. Processed white bread and refined carbohydrates, white bread, pastries, cookies, muffins, refined baked goods. For decades, these foods have been considered normal staples. They're served at breakfast tables, lunch tables, dinner tables, celebrations, gatherings, almost everywhere. Because they're familiar, people rarely question them. But familiarity is not evidence of health. Refined carbohydrates move through the body rapidly. The fiber has often been removed. Much of the nutritional value has been stripped away. What remains is a product that can quickly impact blood sugar while offering relatively little in return. And that becomes increasingly important after age 60. Because the aging body has different priorities. It needs more support, more nutrition, more quality, not more empty calories. Here's a shocking truth. Many seniors are actually undernourished while consuming plenty of calories. Think about that for a moment. A person can eat enough food to gain weight and still fail to provide the body with what it truly needs. Calories are not the same as nutrition. The body doesn't function at its best simply because food was consumed. It functions best when the right nutrients are consumed. That difference changes everything. A plate full of refined carbohydrates may satisfy hunger for a short period of time. But satisfaction and nourishment are not identical. The stomach may feel full. The body may still be searching for vitamins, searching for minerals, searching for protein, searching for the building blocks needed to maintain muscle, support the brain, strengthen bones, and protect overall health. And when those needs aren't met consistently, the consequences begin to appear. Energy drops, strength declines, recovery slows, physical resilience weakens. Many people assume these changes are unavoidable signs of aging, but often the body is simply responding to years of inadequate fuel. Imagine trying to maintain a high-performance vehicle while filling it with the lowest quality fuel available. Sooner or later, performance suffers. The same principle applies to the human body. The body is remarkably resilient, but it is not indestructible. It responds to the quality of what it receives. And perhaps the most important mindset shift in this entire discussion is this: stop focusing on how much food you're eating. Start focusing on what that food is doing once it enters your body. That single shift can transform health decisions forever, because every food creates a consequence. Every bite sends a signal. Every meal influences the future version of yourself. The goal isn't to become obsessed with food. The goal is to become aware enough to recognize that some foods support strength while others quietly undermine it. Aware enough to stop falling for labels, marketing, and false promises. Aware enough to understand that aging well is not simply about avoiding disease. It's about providing the body with the resources it needs to thrive. And when you remove foods that drain those resources, something powerful happens. The body finally gets a chance to perform the way it was designed to. Not perfectly, but far better than most people ever imagine possible. Because the greatest improvements often begin when the biggest obstacles are removed. The difference between a healthy future and a difficult future is often smaller than people think. It isn't usually one massive decision. It isn't one miracle treatment. It isn't one life-changing event. It's a collection of daily choices, repeated over and over again until they become the direction of your life. And nowhere is that more obvious than with food. Every day, your body is listening. Every meal sends a message. Every snack sends a message. Every drink sends a message. The body is always paying attention, even when you aren't. The foods you choose today become the energy you have tomorrow. They become the strength in your muscles, the clarity in your mind, the resilience in your heart, the quality of the years ahead. That's why this conversation matters so much, because many people don't lose their health all at once. They surrender it gradually, one poor habit at a time, one excuse at a time, one overlooked warning sign at a time. Then one day they look back and wonder where their strength went, where their energy went, where their independence went. The truth is that those things rarely disappear without leaving clues. The clues are usually there. Most people simply ignore them. Here's one of the hardest truths to accept. Your future health is not being decided by what you do occasionally. It's being decided by what you do consistently. A healthy meal once in a while won't protect you from daily unhealthy habits, just as one unhealthy meal won't destroy a lifetime of good decisions. Consistency is what matters. Patterns are what matter. The body responds to repetition. And that's good news, because it means positive changes work the same way. Small improvements repeated consistently can create remarkable results over time. Many people hear a list like this and immediately think they need to change everything at once. That's a mistake. Massive change often creates massive resistance. The better approach is simpler. Choose one thing. Just one. Remove one harmful food. Replace one unhealthy habit. Make one better decision. Then repeat it until it becomes normal. Success doesn't come from doing everything perfectly. It comes from refusing to keep making the same mistakes. And perhaps the most dangerous mistake of all is believing there will always be more time. More time to get healthy. More time to improve habits. More time to take action. But time is the one resource nobody can replace. Every year matters, every month matters, every day matters. Because health compounds. The choices made today don't just affect today. They affect next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. The quality of those years is being shaped right now. Not someday, not next month, not after another health scare, right now. And that's why excuses become so expensive. The excuse feels small in the moment. The consequence grows larger over time. People often say they want more energy, more mobility, more independence, more years with the people they love. But wanting those things is not enough. The daily choices must match the goal, because wishes don't create health. Actions do. Discipline does. Awareness does. Responsibility does. The body rewards those who give it what it needs, and it eventually reveals the cost of ignoring those needs. That's not punishment. That's reality. The good news is that reality works both ways. Every positive choice creates benefits. Every healthy habit builds momentum. Every smart decision becomes an investment in the future. No matter your age, your next meal is an opportunity. Your next choice is an opportunity. Your next day is an opportunity. The question is whether you'll use it. Because the people who remain strong, active, sharp, and independent for longer are not necessarily the luckiest people. They're often the people who decided to stop making excuses and start making better choices. So don't just listen to this information. Use it. Look honestly at your habits. Identify what's hurting you. Remove what no longer serves you. Protect the health you still have before you're forced to fight for the health you've lost. Because one day, the decisions you're making right now will become the life you're living. And the most brutal truth of all is this: your future body is watching every choice you make today. Make sure it's a future you're proud to create.